Hey everybody, welcome to Facebook Live on Sunday night, and we're here for another great topic, and this is a big one. It's step 8, and we're going to be talking about making amends, although tonight we are not making amends yet, so I want you to slow down and try not to get nervous because we're at making a list right here. And the step is made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And I want you to be excited and encouraged about what's going on here, because steps 4 through 9 are considered the working steps. So if you think about it, we're at the end of the working steps. And in the AA Big Book, it says that when you get through step 9 is when freedom is promised. And for anybody who knows the AA Big Book, you should, or Google the promises of AA. That's when the freedom comes, is after the 9th step. And so we're at the 8th step here, but 8 and 9 go together. And so even though these steps are another big hurdle, like 4 and 5 were, step 8 and 9 is another big hurdle, although we have God with us, so we are going to be able to handle whatever comes up. This is also, though, one of the places where people have a tendency to get nervous or want to run, but please don't run. And if you're following along and you're really working, I just want to give you a huge pat on the back and just say congratulations for getting to this point, because you have done a great job. And if you're watching along and you're just listening and trying to learn, that's fine, because we all have to start somewhere. Sometimes we just need to take it in a little bit before we're ready to do it, and I think that's totally fine. I know that's how I did it myself. I did a lot of taking in, just listening and reading before I really applied a lot of this myself. And so it's okay wherever you are, but just know when you get to the place where you have put the food down and you're not abusing food and you're eating cleanly and you followed the steps to this point, we are here at the threshold where freedom becomes very close, and that's exciting. So though it's hard, this is very hopeful. So in step 8, we are talking about making peace with people, and you know, it starts in our hearts, looking at ourselves and looking at our relationships. And it's really a process, so it's really the beginning of a process. I mean, we did do some of this work when we looked at ourselves in steps 4 and took stock of our character defects. And this is a little bit more of that, because we are also looking sort of at here where our character defects have caused problems in our relationships and what kind of harm that we might have caused. And so sometimes I think people who are in food recovery, we may feel like we're not as bad as some alcoholics who maybe really caused destruction in their relationships, where, you know, obviously as in alcoholism, people may destroy their entire business or their entire family, and there's so much more obvious destruction. And so many of us food addicts are just nice people who don't seem to be causing that much harm. So we have to look a little closer at some of the more finer details, ways that we have caused harm. And sometimes we also might be holding grudges, and that is dealt with in the step issues of unforgiveness and resentment and bitterness. And if any of you haven't seen it, I posted a video earlier with a poem about resentment. I highly recommend taking a minute and listening to that, because it's really powerful about how resentment ends up being so hurtful to us. And so this is where we look at our resentments. And for many of us, I've worked with so many people over the years, and myself included, people have harmed us and hurt us. And so we feel sort of justified in some of the pain that we feel, or some of the hurt or anger that we feel. And, some of us feel like, well, what do I owe an amends for that? Those people did these horrible things. Maybe you've been abused, maybe, whether it's verbally abused or neglected or sexually abused, and then it feels like it's their fault. And yet, we are looking at our side of the street, so we have to kind of step back and say, honor ourselves in terms of, yes, we were hurt and these hurts are real. And we don't let the other person necessarily go, and we don't deny what happened, but we have to look at, if we're holding a grudge, how do we let go of that, and how do we get to the place of forgiveness, and look at what we're doing. And so holding a grudge may be what we're doing, or silence and closing people out by avoidance or withdrawal, or maybe there's other things that we do to people that are a little less dramatic than maybe an alcoholic who's being abusive, but maybe we're controlling, maybe we're, bossing people around, or maybe we're just, avoid, a lot of people get moody, and especially if we're eating, and when we're eating and we're feeling bad about ourselves, we might be kind of unpleasant to be around. And for many people I've talked to, people getting involved in marriage and just maybe avoiding their sexual relationship because of feeling bad about themselves, or avoiding social situations because of not wanting to, be seen. And there's a lot of ways that we've caused maybe some rifts in our relationships, or maybe not, we've been kind of subtly or quietly, or maybe even without realizing it, we have been a part of problems, and we've affected people. Maybe we've been irresponsible. Maybe we've isolated. Maybe we've been dishonest with finances, or different things that we need to look at. A lot of people, when they look at their history, they see, people, we've stolen food when we were little, maybe even from a store, or stole money from our family or friends. And, a lot of the hiding and sneaking, these sort of things are dishonest. And I think what we're doing in this step is we're not to condemn. It's really to clean this up, any guilt, any of the issues that are there that just need to be cleared up in our character, in the way that we are relating to the world, to get to a place where we start to relate to the world more honestly and more rightly. And so we're really here, what we're doing is we are not yet making amends. We're making a list of everyone, going all the way back to the past, and identifying, where there still may be some issues. And then before we move on to making amends, we will take this our list and to a trusted person, and go through the list with a person, just to make sure, because sometimes it wouldn't be appropriate to make amends. Sometimes there's an amends that might cause harm, to bring something up that maybe would be better left to just maybe write a letter and send it to heaven, so to speak, or rip it up, or just pray over it, because there are times where an abuser, or somebody who, there was an affair, or there's something where it could cause so much harm. And so, it's very important to be careful to go through with a trusted person your list, and then before you get to step 9 and start to actually make amends. And so, but mainly one of my very favorite scriptures is, it is Romans 12:18. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. And I think ultimately that's what this is really about. And I wanted to say to you that I have had countless people who have really stalled out here, and just there were maybe people on their list that were scared or overwhelmed, and they just they couldn't see how doing this would be something they wanted to do. And believe me when I tell you, I couldn't blame them. Sometimes things are really difficult, and sometimes they were misled by a sponsor who was being so maybe inappropriate about their expectations, not realizing when an amends might not be appropriate. And I do think things need to be carefully thought through and prayed through. And But I think to realize that more people, that I have seen so many people be surprised that by taking down some of those walls, to be honest and address the people in your life, and to go to them and tell them, I'm sorry I've been controlling, or I'm sorry that I've been passive, or I've been irresponsible. And that I really want to be more honest and open and have a better communication with you, and to tell this to your family, to say, I'm sorry for the way I've withdrawn, or my moodiness that's been related to my, that I'm irritable, related to my eating. When people get honest and go to their families and clear up some of this stuff, they most of the time are welcomed by, love and forgiveness. And it oftentimes just takes walls down and brings healing. And so if any of you are struggling, just take your time with this, get support for it. I say that all the time. Don't do this by yourself. And know that getting peace is only going to help you in your road to recovery, getting peace with all the people in your life. It's God's will for us to be at peace with one another, and it's also God's will for us to forgive. And I don't think that's an option. So I pray for the Lord to give you strength in your journey to let go of the things that you are holding towards others and towards yourself, and that you would find your way towards your healing in your relationships, and ultimately in your relationship with food. And so God bless you. And again, I can't see your comments right now. I do see a couple of you here. So if anybody has any questions, please do leave me comments, and I will come on and answer them in the chat. Okay, and during the week, I'm here to answer your questions. Feel free always to reach out and meditate on the scriptures, and work on the book as you are able. No pressure, of course. Just do it as you're able. Okay, and God bless you and keep you, and go for the peace and go for the freedom, because it's right around the corner. All right, God bless.